I'm sorry, Council, can I have?
No.
Oh, no, I've got it. Thank
Got
you.
it?
I
Yep.
apologize.
Yep. No, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, councillors and administration. Once again, I'd like to thank all the residents who have taken their time to speak today, whether in person or remotely. On Monday, I spoke to the broken trust between residents and the current council and administration. I also listened as industry claimed that they've had no voice in this process. Frankly, that was surprising. From where residents sit, it's clear that the zoning bylaw has given industry all the voice, all the choice, and all the rights. Yes, there are responsible developers, and thoughtful infill should be possible. But what we're seeing now is a sharp shift. Predatory practices are emerging as companies realize just how much they're permitted to do under these new rules. Right now, Edmonton feels like the Wild West. And yet, even with the amendment before you today, which I am in support of, there are still no real checks or balances in place to distinguish between builders who are contributing to our communities and those who are simply exploiting them for profit. Residents are being asked to prove themselves as experts just to be taken seriously. Meanwhile, when developers speak, their voices carry institutional weight. Most residents had no idea these bylaws were coming, and for the few who did, there was no way to anticipate just how sweeping and disruptive the impacts would be. To claim we did engagement, especially when so much of that engagement happened during COVID, with online consultations that left many residents behind, is a concerning way to deflect responsibility. When people are only becoming aware of these changes as construction begins next door, isn't that a clear sign that your engagement strategy didn't work? There is one point I believe we can all agree on. The decisions being made today will shape our communities for generations. And with that in mind, wouldn't it be more appropriate and more responsible to slow down, to pause and reflect on how these changes are actually playing out on the ground? We are stewards of this city, and that role demands care and accountability. On Monday, administration said these amendments are building on existing policy, but that's exactly the problem. The foundation of this zoning overhaul is unstable. You are placing big bets, but it's the residents who bear the consequences if those bets don't pay off. Has council really heard what residents are saying? Even those who support the amendments have made it clear this is just the tip of the iceberg. My own councillor acknowledged that the large 16-unit development being built next to my home, mid-block on a narrow crescent where all 16 units will rely entirely on street parking, does not align with the original intent of this bylaw. This project, I was told, exploited loopholes and exceptions that allowed it to move forward, and even though it shouldn't have, and yet here we are. I will end with this invitation. I invite all the councillors and all the administration to come to my home and take a walk around the 16-unit development happening on what was once a single lot. Perhaps then we can finally have an honest and constructive conversation about how to move forward with thoughtful, responsible development that meets the needs of a growing population while also respecting the communities and residents who have shaped and sustained this city. Growth and respect are not mutually exclusive, and Edmonton deserves both. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.